Hey everybody, Larry Lawton. Do I have a great video for you today? I think we're gonna have a lot of fun talking about this video because it's the El Chapo escape from prison and where he is now and can that happen and how he did it and a little bit about El Chapo and the drug lords. You know, we're gonna be doing a few of those. People have been asking about this video for a while. So as you know, I try to listen to as many comments and people as I can to do as much as I can to do what we're doing. Before I get started, check out the sponsorship. This video is sponsored by Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes. Explore new skills, deepen existing passions, get lost in creativity. Do your thing. I love the marketing class. I took the digital marketing strategy. It was by Maggie Stratter, I think her name is. Really good. My takeaway from that class was using funnel strategy to build a business. The classes are specifically for learning. There is no ads at all, so you don't have to sit through ads during this thing. And they launch new premium classes all the time, so you can stay focused and learn what you want about creativity, or in my case, marketing. And Skillshare has some cool courses. I got marketing, photography, graphic design, illustration, me, film and video. I mean, there's a whole list of classes you could take, which is pretty cool, and I think that's amazing. So I actually had a hard time picking the classes I want. The first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the description below will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare, so you can start exploring your creativity today. Now, let's get into this video, and I wanted to do this video too because doing the research on drug dealers and drug lords is pretty interesting, and what made me think about this more and more is because the prisons, of getting out of prisons. Now, first let's go into El Chapo and what he did and where he is. He was arrested, well, he was in prison for about a year in 2014 in Mexico prison, and he was in a place called Altiplano Prison, and he ended up building digging a tunnel, a mile-long tunnel. Think of what I'm just saying and how dangerous that could be. You could hit, you know, reading about tunnels and everything, how they do it. Obviously, it's an engineering feat. You don't just dig a hole and keep digging. They can collapse on you. You could hit water levels, you know, the water down. That's how wells are made, by digging deep into the ground and getting a well, and then they pump the water up through the aquifer systems is what they really are called. So, I mean, there's a lot of people who've died during these tunnel buildings. Also, they used to kill them. If something wasn't going right, or they worried about someone snitching, they would kill him. What really amazed me the most about doing this video and understanding this video was, think about this. I always say this: 3 can keep a secret if 2 are dead. How many people does it take to make a tunnel? I mean, they're not doing it with 3 people or 5 people. I'm sure there's shifts round the clock going down. They had to buy a house or a warehouse nearby. Tunnels started really in 1989, I just learned. And they were made from Mexico to the United States, mainly from Tijuana in western Mexico to California's San Diego. And they would go into like a warehouse, and so you couldn't even surveil anybody in there. They can get in and out there and nobody would notice. And I'm sure they was really, think of how good they had to be. Just the people in the area were suspicious of people keeping coming. What was coming, how much equipment was being brought in there. You saw equipment being brought in there. And they were never ratted out, really, not that we know of. I'm sure they were, but they have a tunnel commission now. They actually have the FBI and Drug Task Force and the Homeland Security have what they call a tunnel task force, and they're searching. They found over 500 tunnels coming from Mexico to the United States between Texas and also California. Now think about that. Think about the ingenuity and the money they had to put up just to start making these tunnels. And these tunnels weren't like just like a hole where you were a kid, and I remember when I was a kid we used to have snow drifts in New York, and we'd make tunnels in them and all. It'd be pretty cool. Imagine this now. You're talking about tunnels going 560 meters they average. They found 2 of them not long ago, two tunnels, from Tijuana to San Diego, and they were 560 meters, and they had rail systems, so they can deliver drugs. It was really a drug operation to get the drugs out. Obviously, with you're talking about billions of dollars, billion-dollar industry, and I'm sure they had losses. They got tunnels found out, collapsed this, and they're all losses. But that's part of doing business. Even getting caught with all the drugs is part of the business, and they figure that out. And it's just so much, they just keep doing it. And when one dies, or whether it's Pablo Escobar, or El Chapo, or Fuentes, whoever it is, once they're gone, they're going to be replaced. There's just too much money. It's kind of like the mob. You can slow it down. You could stop some of their money-making schemes, but there's always somebody to fill that position, because there's a lot of money, and money makes the world go round. We all know that, and that's just a fact, everybody. We can't change that. That is what it is, and that's the end of that. Well, El Chapo was really amazing in his ingenuity, these tunnels. Now, research him. He was from Sinaloa. Sinaloa is in a little bit of central Mexico and central west Mexico. And he was the biggest drug lord there, Sinaloa Cartel. Now, obviously, the Guzmans are somewhere else. They were from Juarez, Mexico. And but anyway, so getting back into these tunnels. So he used to have safe houses. Now, they found one area of El Chapo. He had a bunch of safe houses. Now, I don't mean a little complex, I mean a mega complex. But he had tunnel systems under all of them. So if they went into one and busted people got underground, and they did it in bathrooms. They had a movable bathtub in one. A movable bathtub. They'd move it, and they could even move it back, so they'd never even know there was a tunnel there. And they would go into another safe house, and then another safe house. So they had them all linked together. So if they knew somebody was coming and they were going to bust this house, or what were they going to do, they're getting in the tunnels and going. It's ingenious. You think of all the escapes in prison, and this is what we're going with El Chapo's escape in the United States. And that's why El Chapo, I think, is being held right now in Florence, Colorado, called the ADX, which you're not building no tunnel there. I can guarantee you that. First of all, it's on the side of a mountain in Colorado, and there's, I think, 300 something inmates there, and I think there's more guards than inmates. It's the most secure prison in the world. That's known. You can look that up anywhere. And they have a lot of famous inmates there. They have like the Unabomber, Ted Kaczynski. Richard Reed, who was the shoe bomber. He had the bomb on the plane, the shoe bomber. They had Terry Nichols, who was the Oklahoma City with Timothy McVeigh, who was executed actually. But Nichols is there. Zachariah Massari, who was the 9/11, one of the planners of 9/11, which just passed, which is crazy. Then you had the Boston Marathon bomber. They call him Daskara Tazarov. Now he is also at ADX Colorado. Now they call ADX Colorado the Alcatraz of the Rockies. I actually met a couple of guys who, they have a step-down program in the ADX, and they came from the ADX and then they go to a penitentiary, like Atlanta or Lewisburg or Leavenworth or Lompoc. These are all penitentiaries around the United States now. They would have what they call a step-down program. It might take them 5 years to get to that penitentiary after going there, if they ever do. If they're high-profile enough, tough luck, you're going to be there. Now, I don't know how these people don't go crazy. I'm sure they do. And, it's a lot of stuff we don't know, the citizens. And listen, some of these people are the worst in the world. So it's hard for people to even have an iota of compassion for them or feeling. Although I understand human rights shouldn't matter of what you did. It should be about how we treat people. And that's why I respect a lot of other countries more than the United States as far as prison reform goes. But anyway, El Chapo here, right now he's 64 years old and he's in ADX, Colorado. Can he escape? It is funny. One article said, I doubt it. It's highly, highly unlikely. I'm saying he can't. I mean, when I was in a hole in prison, and I was in a hole for 3 years, they move you, even in your cell, in the hole every 2 weeks. That's so if you try to start doing something, cutting down a wall, making certain things, whatever it is, they move you every 2 weeks. From some places or every 3 weeks, but 2 weeks you're going down. Lock up, pack up. You're in the hole, of course, and you get all your shit, you put it in the bed sheet, you pick it up, and you head to another cell. And you don't know where you're going, what you're doing, so you can't like coordinate with the whole entire tier and say, okay, we'll all do this. Because again, 3 can keep a secret if 2 are dead. Now, obviously, it's a little different in the drug cartels and back in them days. I'm sure they held their families hostages, and the people knew if they did anything, they'd kill their whole families back in Mexico or whatever they would. But that's here nor there. I mean, it's obviously, it's funny because I was reading about El Chapo going to ADX, and he claimed he was in MCC Manhattan. It's a Metropolitan Correctional Center. It's where they hold people downtown Manhattan for the courts and stuff like that. Well, El Chapo claims he was abused in the MCC, and I don't doubt that for 1 second. And he called it cruel and unusual treatment for 30 months. I do believe that. I really do. I think maybe the people, I don't know about Colorado, how they do it. Do they beat them? I don't know. I'm not going to say they do because I don't know. But I can tell you one thing, they mentally torture you in ADX Colorado for sure. No human being should have to go through that. But again, these are people of the worst, if you want to call them that. And whether they murdered other people in other penitentiaries and they just can't be around people, I don't know exactly. But they do house a lot of famous inmates, and I mentioned them already. El Chapo's first escape. Now, you know what made El Chapo so interesting to me, and why I wanted to do this is a lot of people asked it too. He didn't just escape once from prison. He escaped twice from prison. Now he escaped the prison and in 2001 in a laundry cart. Now, obviously, they find out that most of the guards were paid off, and I believe that easily in Mexico. I don't think it can be done in the United States. It can. Listen, with as human beings, there's going to be, people, listen, money talks. Listen, you tell a guard you're going to get $50 million into an account somewhere, and you just say you didn't do your job that night, you fell asleep, whatever. You're not going to prison. You're going to get fired and all that, but you got $50 million. Yeah, how can you spend it and all that? And I'm sure you'd figure that shit out. But listen, I mean, I used to think about that all the time when I was in prison about people escaping. So he gets away in his first prison with a laundry cart. Well, now the second prison, now what really amazed me about this tunnel they made, it's about a mile-long tunnel. Think of that. Not hitting any of the water lines, aquifers, things collapsing down. These people are engineers. Now, I did look up the guy. They have a guy there who, his name is Jose Sanchez Villalobos, and he was the brains behind the tunnels for the drug cartels. He's the one who linked to Tijuana tunnels to San Diego. At like I said, over 500 meters, 560 meters, which is 600 something yards. So he's the one. Matter of fact, he was paid so well, he was a billionaire. He was actually indicted in the United States on 13 counts and convicted. He was paid so well, he had his own racetrack. This is the guy who builds the tunnels for El Chapo. So he's worth tons of money. What really made me kind of impressed, I don't care how good you are. I don't care. I don't know how they got to the exact spot. See, in El Chapo's cell, he had a bathroom in with a little wall, okay? Now, the wall was where, you shit, and you'll see that in a lot of videos, or I even showed it in a video. They'll have a wall where your head could be seen, and your shit, and you want to, people, I guess, trust me, in ADX, they watch you. But in most prisons, there'll be a wall you can go in and, kind of around a barrier and you go shit there. Well, that's what El Chapo moved the bathtub or whatever they had there, the toilet area, and he goes down into the tunnel and they get him on, they had a track, a railroad track with a motorcycle on it. So he got down there, got on the motorcycle and scooted a mile to this house that was a mile away, got up and got out. Now, were people paid off again? Again, it was Mexico. I'm not knocking Mexico for that. I think corruption's everywhere, so it's not just Mexico. So is it that? Is it what he did there? Is exactly what he did, El Chapo did there? I don't know. Maybe it is. The engineering feat of going for 1 mile and coming under a prison into an exact spot where a toilet is, in the cell where he's at. Think of what I'm just saying now, everybody. I mean, I don't think I can make a hole in my yard to go to an exact spot and come up exactly. I mean, I just think that's amazing. And now you're talking about noise. You're talking about, it boggles my mind how they can do this all the time. You know, these tunnels aren't one-time deals. They're making them to this day. They make them, the cartels. Doesn't people hear things? Doesn't, patrols? You wonder why they don't have sensors in the ground. Maybe they do now. I mean, if they have any kind of, vibration or something of that nature, they know something's going on below there. I mean, a seismic thing or whatever you're talking about. That's why listen, in America, you're not getting that. There are prisons you can do that in America. I guarantee that. Especially older prisons don't have the technology and stuff like that. But just the ingenuity or the feat of doing that to hit exact spot. If you're off 2 feet, you hit a wall. 2 feet the other way, you hit a pipe in the bathroom, of what was made in this prison. I mean, amazing. It's just to come up there. That guy is really a genius. He made it, again, he was worth millions and millions of dollars, and he ended up getting indicted in the United States as well. But it just blows me away that in Altepano prison, that he can do that in the shower area. It just blows me away. I keep thinking of tunnels, and I keep thinking of El Chapo getting on a bicycle and getting out. He gets caught by the Americans. Listen, we can talk all we want. America wants to get you, they're going to get you. Trust me. Take as long as they want. People have been on their list, but they never forget it. It's not a money issue at all in anything to do with the United States. One agent dies in the feds. Another one picks up his case file. It's not like the states and not like the cities and the counties. They don't have the manpower. They don't have the money to do this. The feds do, and they're going to hold you accountable. They're going to hold people accountable. So that blows me away that he was actually able to escape the way he did, El Chapo. I mean, an armed insurgent, an attack on the prison, I can see that. I can actually see that. I cannot see the way, and this is only in 2015. This was in, I think it was July of 2015, or was he said, no. Yeah, July of 2000, I think it was July of 2015, if I'm right. I'm pretty sure it was. In July of 2015, he gets escapes from prison, and he goes to that prison, and then he escapes. Obviously, in the United States, he gets convicted in whatever it was, 30 months, so 2017, and he gets convicted, gets sentenced in 2019. So we're still only talking. He's worth $3 billion. It's what El Chapo was worth, $3 billion. So the drug trade paid off pretty well, but. As I always try to tell young people, crime really doesn't pay. You could have all that money. And Pablo Escobar was killed at 44. El Chapo's in prison whatever. He was in and out of prisons, and he ended up going to prison. He's 64 now, and so 2019 he was 62. So, a couple of years before that, so he's 59. He's my age, and he ends up going to prison, never getting out of prison, obviously. You can't spend your money. Obviously, he did a lot for people, I'm sure. And, you're never going to hear the good they do. That's just, and I'm not sure we should, because we shouldn't glorify what his life was, not to young people. Because young people, in my mind, are impressionable. But you guys are smart as well. I mean, I'm just giving you the heads up on how El Chapo could escape and how hard it would be to escape, but how it's never not possible. There's always a way, always a person to get to. What happens if El Chapo's people took the warden hostage of a place and put dynamite on his wife or whatever they did? Is this guy gonna really risk his wife getting blown up where he can't just give the information and let this guy out somehow, some way? I'm surprised that doesn't happen more with some of these crazy Colombians like Pablo Escobar and some of these other mega drug dealers around the world. I was looking up drug dealers, and I'm gonna do a whole video on that after looking up how rich and how they made their money and stuff. Now listen, I'm not you know what makes that all the worse? I laugh. You're gonna laugh at me when I say this, everybody. I think the biggest drug dealers, and I researched the drug dealers, and I mean all the way. There's from Japan to Russia, and I mean worth billions. Pablo Escobar was worth the most at $30 billion. $30 billion. But anyway, I still think the United States government is the biggest drug dealers in the world. I know I might get flack for saying that. Hospitals and doctors who gave out Oxycontin pills to kill people. And I believe in oxys for the right reason. And if you need them, and if there is a benefit for that drug. Don't ever think there isn't. You know, I had major back surgery. I took it for a while, got off them. But they are a big problem, and you know, it's $1 billion industry, Pfizer and all these companies that make these drugs. And what do? They drug people up. I'd rather see, you know, older, especially after 21 or whatever it's going to be, smoke weed for pain. It's a natural thing. I know people look at me and say, some people say, no, research it. I want you to do your research out there. If you're anybody who's older and saying, don't just be a follower. Don't be a sheep being led by a wolf. Because, you know, I learned that a long time ago, and I'm getting older in life and seeing a lot in life. And I'm a believer in the good, and I hope that people want to do good. But they're the biggest drug dealers and the biggest oppressors of people, the governments. I mean, think about what I'm talking about. And until the United States starts to become compassionate and rehabilitative, they're still going to be the biggest and the worst prison system I know of. And I do a lot of research and been in the prison system, so I know the prison system. And I'm not just sitting here bullshitting because I'm bitter. I'm not bitter at all. I have friends that are guards. I have friends that are cops. I have friends that are people in there. People, you know, I just have enough information, and I had enough guards come to me and say, I can't work in these places anymore. I'm killing myself, my family. I just can't do it. I saw too much abuse. Nothing's done. I find out from guards I know that these wardens get bonuses for cutting food, for cutting programs. Are you fucking kidding me? How do you think we can have a great program? I'm getting off track, which I normally do. I'm going on the El Chapo prison escape, 2 prison escapes, and you know, I just know how the United States is. They're gonna have their foot on that guy's neck. That guy has not a chance of escaping, in my opinion. I think you could have escaped from regular prisons, and he woulda. He sure knows how to plan it. He sure has the patience for it. Who knows if something's underway or not? I mean, if listen to me, if he ever got out of ADX, I would go down there myself, do a video, and figure out how he did it, know it, everything. I mean, it boggles the mind, that place, ADX Colorado. And administrative maximum security, it's the max of the max. It's the max of the worst of the worst. I'm just still amazed to this day how El Chapo, and I, as you guys know, I get intrigued. And I get, you know, I have to do all research. I have to think how they did it. I figure out the prisons. I know how the counts go. I know, you know, can you corrupt guards? Can't? Yes. Seen many guards corrupted. Seen it firsthand. We had a guard that used to bring drugs into Atlanta. Everybody knew it. I mean, it was amazing. And he was getting paid big money. I think I talked about that. I wouldn't be surprised with all the followers we have if there's guards on this channel who do stuff like that. Listen, the way they pay them, I almost don't blame them. I mean that. They pay these guys nothing, and they're in with a bunch of animals all day, and they don't even treat them with respect, and then they expect these guys to be these upstanding people. So I get it. I mean, I swear I get it. You know, we were talking about back in the drug trade back here in the 90s, and I was around. I was big around then, and I was very powerful, had the biggest bookmaking operation, you know, robbing jewelry stores, doing everything I was doing. And Miami was built on drug money. And I know of stories, and I know of cops who pulled over a guy, he's got $300,000 in the trunk, and all of a sudden, you know, the drug, he's, you know, arrested and the money's gone, or not arrested and left. Heard stories of that. And you know, one cop explained the story like this. This is a true story. He said, listen to me, Larry. He goes, I put my life on the line to get this shit off the streets. This is back in the late 80s and early 90s in South Florida. And he says, I know that these guys were getting out of prison the next day, jail, bonded out, back to wherever they come from, and not a thing has changed. Not a thing has changed. And I guess they get jaded through the system, which is wrong, but they get jaded, and all of a sudden they see $500,000 in the trunk. Fuck it, they realize the guy's getting out anyway, just get the fuck out of here. Probably, who knows if they shot him or not. A lot of cops become bad too, and I mean real bad. You know about Steve Caracappa and the guy Eppolito in New York, 2 cops who were hooked up with the mob. It's amazing to me why it's not even done more. And maybe it is, and I just don't know it, and we don't know it. But the El Chapo thing, as much as you might hate El Chapo, for what he is, I don't. He was what he was. I don't believe in it. I think it pollutes kids, but drugs are drugs. I mean, again, the government sells drugs every day, and they just got a license to do it. And we can get into the Oliver North shit and back in Iran-Contra and all that, and selling drugs and all that kind of stuff. The government doing this, the CIA. So, and that's all true. You can look it all up. So, I mean, I don't judge people. I don't know if he was killing people. You hear all the bad. Nobody really knows. People do know, but you and I don't hear all the real stuff. What the government does, what people do, and you hear only the best. I remember this, and I'm only telling this story because back when I was in the service, we used to board Russian boats and Japanese, called Maru boats, in the Fisheries Conservation, the 200-mile Fisheries Conservation Act. And we would go on a Russian boat, and they're all drinking vodka, and they considered us the evil empire. We considered them the evil empire. Is it true? I don't believe it's true. I don't believe the people of Russia are evil at all. I don't even think their government is evil. It's different. I think China's different. I'm probably going to get a lot of slack for being honest about what is the real deal. But until we are honest with yourself about your own problems, your own countries, look what we got going on in Washington. They can't even agree on fucking nothing. You got 2 polarized parties that are nothing but paid off themselves. So I think it's a lot of bullshit, and they've been politicians for 30, 40 years. Political jobs weren't made when this country was founded to be there forever. They weren't. They were supposed to be a public service. Sadly, I don't know how much that is anymore. But I know I'll get my flack for that. But as far as El Chapo, listen, you got to give the man respect. He had patience. He had ingenuity. He got the best tunnel maker probably in the world, one of the best. Obviously, this guy's worth millions, made tunnels, 500 tunnels, they said, or something. So this guy was no idiot. He had to be a really hell of an engineer, a mathematician, engineer, and understand construction like nobody else. To put a tunnel a mile from here to go into that's like me. And this is why it made me wild. I'm sitting where I'm at in my house, and I'm thinking a mile away. I know where a mile is from my house. You all will know yourself. Think about going down, starting a tunnel in your house, and going into your friend's bathroom a mile away. I mean, I know people are going to say, oh, it's easy, your exact distance. No, it's not easy. You're off a little bit in that tunnel in some way. I mean, you could be off an inch every whatever, and now you're 2 feet off. I mean, just think of that. I mean, it boggles my mind. That boggles my mind. That ingenuity, that engineering feat boggles my mind. I don't know what equipment it had. They couldn't be on top, sounding things from the other side, doing it like that. Had to be from one way. More respect. And not like I'm sitting here respecting drug dealers. I'm not. You gotta at least respect El Chapo and how he did it. That's all I'm gonna say with that. With that said, I'm gonna close because my mind's full of tunnels. I know I'm gonna fucking sleep tonight thinking about tunnels. I mean, I just researched them. I know the cases. I mean, I know what prisons are like, obviously, and how to get out of them. And I used to dream about that or think about it when I used to work the East Shore in Atlanta more than anywhere. The mediums, I think, could have been done easily. The mediums that I were in fucking would have been a cakewalk to get out of those prisons. I really do think that if you really wanted to, and you had a little resources on the street, which obviously somebody like El Chapo does. What always boggled my mind before I closed is when I was in Atlanta with all these very big hitters, and I'm talking big hitters, even Willie Falcone and Vic Arena and Vic Amuso and Nicky Scott. I'm talking big heavy hitters in the mob and whatnot. I used to wonder why they didn't try to figure out ways to escape, or if they did, they didn't have the brains or the connections. I know if I had a multiple life sentence, I could have got out. I really do believe that in my heart. but I know how to do things differently. But anyway, I hope you enjoy these videos. I'm trying to give you my insight in that. I'm hoping you're enjoying all our content. Thank you. If you haven't been on my channel, please subscribe. Go to the playlist. Check out Gangster Redemption series. It's going crazy, and as it should be. It's one of the most watched series on YouTube. So check it out. You'll love it. Have a great day, everybody. Please stay safe. Make good choices. I don't want you to go to prison. I'd rather do videos with you, have you comment. And please, comment below. I will read your comment. Check them out. Have a great day, everybody. Stay safe. Much love, much respect.